This meeting's being live streamed. I think we're live. Okay. Let's see. And I'm waiting to fix the audio because we always have to do this.
You don't have to say it every
down. Let's see. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Where is it? Okay, well, I guess we're on. There we go. Turn that off. All righty. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Happy August Monday, Lori.
Yes, my gosh, it's August. Good morning.
Can you believe it's August already?
I don't want to believe that it's August already.
Do you know what's going to happen next?
September.
Christmas.
Oh, September 1st.
I know, but you blink your eyes at this point, you're just like, well, where did the year go?
Yeah.
It really kind of pained me writing out August in my little planner for the day. And yeah, I mean, and now the kids are going to be going back to school. I mean, which is still weird because I can't get used to kids going back to school in August. I mean, we are not the Midwest. My kids always went back to school after Labor Day. I don't know how the parents do it. I don't know how the kids do it.
They don't know any different.
Yeah, I guess
They're in
so.
school now, didn't go to school in September, so they don't know.
The little ones, I think. Yeah, but it's it's August, which means not much is going on.
Exactly.
Not much is going on. We're
all quiet on the risk management front.
Yeah, on local associations. I don't know if everybody's local association goes dark in August. We go dark in August. August is a very interesting month. There's no holidays in August.
It's just boring.
August is a very boring month. I hope we have some really good birthdays in the month of August to celebrate because there is nothing else going on. So speaking of nothing else going on, it's a little quiet out there. I mean, there's not, there wasn't a CAR meeting on last Friday to talk about anything happening. There's no new forms. I guess people can still get into trouble. It doesn't matter what month.
Yeah, they can still get into trouble, but there was really no news. And, last week and a half ago, LA County imposed the mask requirement. We anticipated it could happen across the board. It hasn't. It doesn't mean that it's not looming in front of us. It could be, we don't know. I mean, I was expecting day-to-day changes and really nothing else changed. So
yeah, I'm kind of surprised by that. I'm kind of surprised that I don't know. Everything's a surprise nowadays, isn't it? I mean, we don't know what to expect. And, I haven't been watching the COVID numbers. I mean, I know they're bad. Some states are really super bad. Here, I think we're kind of bad. I don't really know off the top of my head. So it's really kind of interesting, this intersection of opening back up to, all of us vaccinated people can be transmitting this stuff because I think that they didn't, when they had the opening updates, my ever so humble opinion here, nobody really knew about the Delta variant and how transmissible that it is, which now they're saying is up there with chickenpox level. And we all know how that can spread. Remember those chickenpox parties? Did you ever have those when your daughter was young?
Okay. No, we had the vaccine by then. So
well, back in the Stone Age when we were riding the brontosauruses, we didn't have the vaccine, and so I never did this, but there would be chickenpox parties where people would one kid had it, and just to get it over with, you put all the kids together and let them all get the chickenpox at the same time. And then it's kind of like this came in, everybody got sick, and then it went away. That's how transmissible the chickenpox are. And they're saying this Delta variant is at that level, which is kind of freaky because now all of us that thought we were cool walking around without a mask or whatever, it's not so much that we're going to get sick. There is a small percentage of people that do get the breakthrough to get sick. I am not a doctor. However, I do like to play one here on Facebook. Um, but we're just walking around like little typhoid Marys out there. Maybe we can call us Delta Debbies. I don't know. We're just,
My
and
middle name's Denise, so I'll be Delta.
you want to be Delta Denise? You don't
I
want to
don't
do that. No, we'll call them Delta Debbies.
I'm just trying to play. That's all.
And, we're transmitting it, I guess. We may be asymptomatic. We don't know. Why would we be tested? So now it kind of puts it into a weird spot. Should we be bringing back PED forms? Should we be bringing back not mask mandates, but for our business, just trying to be safe to the public now that a lot of the other businesses are mandating this and mandating that, not so much on the government level, but a business to consumer level. I mean, the more you know, the more you find out that, oh, this ain't cool. We all think we're cool, but this ain't cool.
Yeah, and it's such a challenge because we don't know how long we'll have to consider all of these scenarios. It could be the next couple months, it could be 6 months, it could be years. We don't know. And it's like, on one hand, we can't be in bubble wrap and never leave our house. But at the same time, we have to acknowledge there's potential exposure as soon as we walk out the front door. So it's like, how do you reconcile that? And then how do you figure out what you are comfortable with, what you're willing to go to, what you're willing to, I guess, risk? Because we are inevitably going to come in contact with people who have it or are carrying it and can transmit it. I don't know. Question of our life.
My gardener's here, so I had to put myself on mute. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if CAR has a meeting on Friday. If they bring it up, are they scheduled for a meeting?
Yeah, I think we're scheduled for this Friday. Okay. Double check.
That'll be an interesting thing to see, because and also too, we have a lot of events coming up that are live events. We're opening marketing meetings back up, maybe kind of sort of. I guess they're open, at least in our area. It'd be interesting. Anybody. Maybe I should be pointing over here. Anybody on Facebook? Are your local associations doing anything? Are you guys? Anybody got anything going on out there that they want to share with the group? For two reasons. Number one, we learn from each other. And number three, this is a slow week because, well, it's August.
We went from 1 to 3. What have we been doing?
Well, yeah, it's kind of amazing. But
I did know that the association, Corona Norco area, TIGAR, the Inland Gateway Association of Realtors, they were virtual. They do weekly breakfast meetings, and it's kind of, it's a little bit small. Well, it's a smaller association than Orange County, but it's a decent sized association. There's about 3,000 members, and they've got a couple offices, and they went back to live meetings for 3 or 4 weeks. And then I saw last week that they were going back to virtual, at least for last week. I presume for this week as well, but I haven't seen the notice yet. It's only Monday, and their meetings are on Thursday. So I'm a secondary member there, so I can speak to that one, that they have since gone back to virtual, at least for now.
Yeah, Barbara Mills Dubois. Hello, Barbara.
Hi, Barbara.
Says our association's first monthly meeting back live in person was scheduled for September for IVAR.
Oh, for IVAR.
Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Yeah, and Carol said I was vaccinated and got Delta. We should go back to private showings only with strict precautions.
Mm.
This is one of our buddies, Carol. I hope you're feeling better.
Is that Carol?
It made me so sad.
Is it Carol Lynch?
Carol Korchova.
Oh, Carol. Oh, that's right, Carol. Yes, she did get that. I remember seeing that. I hope she's doing better now.
And she says BAOR will remain closed. And good morning, Sherry. I love it when everybody's interactive. So, just talk to us here, and, because we'd love to hear what's happening, what you guys are seeing, this lets us know, especially, Lori being president in the Mazi at Orange County Realtors, it's good for her to know what the other associations are doing too. So she can kind of bring that back and help make decisions, because, we don't operate in a bubble here. And if I personally think if other associations are saying, we need to be respectful of our members and not put them in, harm's way. And if other associations are doing it, then, maybe the other associations should be looking at what's going on. So Carol, we're happy to hear that you're slowly on the road to recovery. Wow. Maybe I'll contact you offline and see how you're doing, see if there's anything we can do for you. So let's see, and Barbara says, yes, Tigar has closed to the public. We have our Women's Council elections planned for August 12th at Tigar, and we're told yesterday by Adriana that now we have to go to Zoom. Interesting. So I guess, poop's getting real. I'll say that. I'm trying to not be typical Lisa.
Yeah, I think, there's a varying degree of events that are happening in person and those that are remaining virtual. And even within our association in Orange County, we've got certain things are not back in person yet, while other things are. We've got a lot of things on the books for the remainder of the year. And so, we hope that we can keep everybody safe and hold each event, make a decision prior to each event of whether it's okay to move forward with an in-person or have to go to other arrangements. So I think that it'll all sort of keep evolving, and we'll just have to stay watching.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see on the big meeting front what happens, with CAR and NAR and the live events there. I know that Expo was going to be virtual again. It's going to be like a hybrid meeting. Some meetings are going to be live, other ones are going to be Zoom. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens. It's sad because we're all like, oh, everything's going to be fine and the world's going to open back up. And then nature sends us a little reminder that we're really not in control of this as much as people would like to think that they are.
Yeah, and we're an industry that is adaptable by nature. We need to be flexible. As entrepreneurs, we're always just, having to adjust on the fly, hour by hour. Yet there are certain things we are insistent on and stubborn on and don't want to change and don't want to conform. And other things, we understand. And so as an industry, we just have to recognize that things will continue to change. We could be open one day and close the next and reopen a week later. We don't know. But we just have to pay attention. And that's why it's awkward, because it feels like there should be more information right now, but then there's just not.
Yeah, I think everybody's still kind of like in a gathering phase, as the doctors and scientific community learn more about this, because I know the piece that I saw about how transmissible it was came across this weekend. And I think now they're getting, they've got science to back them now on it, because it was like, it's coming, and people are getting sick, but we don't know how many people are getting sick and from what, and who's getting it and who's not. And, it's sad that there is this small percentage, like Carol, that, it hits them, it's a breakthrough, but it's, people still get hit. Granted, the percentage is very small, but again, do you want to be that one? Do you want to be that one person? And looking back, we were running around Las Vegas, just doing Las Vegas things. And, I look back now, I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, a couple of days after we got back from Vegas is when I got sick, and I just initially thought I had a cold. And then I thought, well, maybe it's COVID, but you weren't sick. And it wasn't COVID. I got tested and it wasn't, but it was a sinus infection. And man, I hadn't been sick in almost 2 years. It just really kicked my butt. Now it's August, like July is gone. I was sick almost the entire month of July, from like the 6th through the end of the month. Today is the first day, I think, maybe yesterday, where it's like, oh, my voice actually sounds normal.
Yeah.
So, that really took me by surprise how when your body has been well for so long and then you get sick, like I would have thought I would have kicked it very quickly, but it was quite the opposite.
Yeah, it really is kind of amazing, and yeah, and it also reminds you, oh, everybody's not wearing masks anymore. And oh, look, I can pick up crap, be it COVID or just the regular crap that we dealt with before. It's kind of nice not getting sick,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, since getting a sinus infection when I go out, I am wearing it at all times at this point.
Yeah, I'm back to that as well. The restaurant thing's still kind of bizarre. Hi, I'm gonna wear a mask in, and then magically I sit down and my germs are non-existent. But I've had that problem the whole time, and we're just back. I guess that's why you better have a nice adult beverage, just to wash all those germs away. That'll be my excuse. Yeah.
I think we tried that. I don't know if it worked, but we'll keep
Yeah,
going.
obviously it didn't kick your sinus infection after Las Vegas, but what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, right, baby?
I mean, other than just having enough alcohol, I should not have gotten sick. Yeah.
Okay, moving on.
Yeah, moving on.
Moving on.
Lori's not an alcoholic at all.
No.
It was hot there. The
It
drinks
was
were
very
great.
hot.
I didn't get drunk at all, and not even a buzz.
Yeah,
That's a bad thing. Those drinks were damn big and didn't even get a buzz.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
hot there.
We have this figured out. You sit in 108-degree heat for 7 hours. I'm not going to need to do something. My tan's starting to go away. So,
No, I no, I didn't tan.
well, and our friend Nick says, fairly sure whiskey kills COVID, right?
We'll try it.
Well, you know what? I'm going to bank on vodka. We're going to see
I got some good
everybody scientific experiment for the nerdy group. What drink is going to keep you from getting COVID?
Okay, no, we're going down a bad path.
We are going down a bad path. Okay, moving on to market trends and all of this. Hey, they ended the moratorium, right? The eviction moratorium.
Not in California.
Oh, but around the country they did the federal one.
Mhm.
I wonder how that's going to play out. Oh, and Bridget says, cheers the germs away. I like that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think for California, I think it ends September 30th, and who knows if it'll get extended. We're keeping our fingers crossed that it won't.
Yeah.
But
And Raj says the CDC moratorium has ended. Yeah, I think that's the federal one.
but Congress was going to be putting something to a vote about
He
it.
went on vacation for a couple of weeks.
Congress did. They met on Sunday, but
Oh,
they were supposed to meet and talk about it, like try to put it to a vote last week.
yeah, I think the
too many
Supreme
days
Court
have
came
passed.
along and said ixnay
Oh,
on the oratorium nay.
Okay, good. Well, that's pretty good.
That's a really bizarre phrase to do pig Latin on. I'm not quite sure why I felt like doing that.
I don't know, but you did a nice job.
It's Monday and there's nothing going on.
Yeah, I haven't had enough coffee. I only had like a little cup.
Pig
Enough.
Latin Monday. Okay. Let's see. And Pam says landlords need a break for a change. Yeah, I mean, and it's sad because it is the mom and pops that are getting hit, and I've never seen this many mom and pop landlords put properties on the market. That's the one thing. And if they really wanted to help, the federal government could do something regarding 1031 exchanges. Lori, did you freeze?
I don't know. Did I freeze?
No,
Oh,
you just looked frozen. You did a
Oh.
really good imitation of a frozen person on Zoom.
oh, okay. I was reading something. So
Your eyes weren't even moving. I mean, that was kind of the amazing part.
I was scrolling it up so I didn't have to. Oh wow! I just I don't know what the hell I'm doing on
You
my
know, the crazy thing is, we're gonna let everybody here know the Lori's stealth badass ninja Jedi trick.
screen.
She can read, and you don't even know she's doing it when she's talking. Now you all have to decide if you see Lori, on some presentation, is she reading or is she not? Because she's really damn good. I think maybe you have like the role of a newscaster in your future.
I
You know,
didn't
where
think
your
I was
eyes
that
aren't
good
doing
at it.
the thing on with the teleprompter.
Uh-huh. Wow, I didn't know I was that good at it. I didn't think so.
Obviously, I thought you froze.
I had to record a Woman Up commercial yesterday, and 20 takes later, I did finally memorize the dang script.
Well, after 20 times, you probably had to.
Pretty much.
Well, and
What were we talking about? We were
I
like,
was just going to say the same thing. Oh, we were talking about the moratorium or the lack of it ending and not ending. Oh, yeah. So
I was checking. I'll tell you what I was checking.
what are you checking?
I was checking to make sure my tenant paid their rent. That's what I was checking. And they did.
Oh, we're punchy this morning, aren't we? Okay.
I just wanted to be sure, because we're talking about the moratorium, and it's like, oh yeah, it's the second. Did the tenant pay the rent? They did.
Well, I mean, and I think right now, since we have this supply issue and we have landlords not wanting to be landlords anymore, obviously, there's a whole lot of them out there that are just like, you know what, I'm just going to cash out of here and I'm just going to go bye-bye. And we're not even seeing the 1031 exchanges taking place, like the people are walking and paying taxes from some of the things I've been seeing. It would be so cool if Congress would just say, you know what, we're going to allow landlords that were affected, maybe even not affected, during the period of time, just sell your properties, get the 1031 exchange benefits without doing a 1031 exchange. Forget the first-time buyer tax credit, because right now we don't have anything for first-time buyers to buy. We could increase our demand or our supply and help with the demand issue if we allowed these people that are affected. They might have had a tenant in there. Now they're, whether it's July 31st or the end of September, just let the landlords sell their properties, because our rental market is crazy. We were talking about that a couple of weeks ago on Clubhouse Talk, and our friend Anthony Ty was, talking about how he's seen the same bidding wars going on for rental properties that we were seeing on purchases, because there's nothing to rent out there. So maybe if the government was nice and did a break, we could have more people, instead of being renters, become homeowners, and then also help with the supply issue. Now, is that going to help the renter population out there? Probably not so much, but I think you've got your big landlords that are going to continue to build and, put you in an apartment. You may not be able to get that little single family residence or something like that. But, it would be cool if we gave more people an opportunity for home ownership and get them out of the cycle of renting, in my ever so humble opinion.
It's a really good observation. I do happen to have a family member who had a rental and who was severely impacted because of COVID. Their tenant just completely took advantage of the situation, and they had to hire an attorney. Ultimately, one of the tenants passed away, but the other one, as a result, the other one just left. And my family member didn't even know until a neighbor called them and said, hey, there's a bunch of homeless people living in your house now. And so they were unable to apply for any of the federal aid because the tenant is gone now.
Mm-hmm.
And the tenant needs to cooperate with that in order for you to collect on it. And they've moved out. So there's zero claim. So they did decide to sell, and had to put money into the house to fix it up, because now it's pretty grungy. That tenant was there 12 years, and then now
it's a long time for somebody to be in there.
Yeah. And so they did end up buying a property up in Running Springs, up in Big Bear, to avoid the taxes. So they did do a 1031 exchange. And so, what you just described would have been a perfect solution for their scenario. It's like they got taken advantage of on one end, and then if they would have
screwed on the other.
Yeah, I was going to put it a little less tactfully, but
well, I'm just going to call space favorite. It is what it is, and that's the problem. Is there's the person that's getting screwed over that doesn't have an opportunity to make their situation right. And let's be real about this too. I've heard from far too many people that there are a whole lot of strategic forbearance or people not paying their rent. They can pay their rent, but why should they? And we're not talking, the your people lower on the income scale. This is the same thing that happened during the short sale situation during the recession. They had strategic defaults because they could, not because they were in financial trouble, because they could. And the rationale during the recession, which was really stupid, was, well, why would I pay for something that's not worth now what I paid for it? It's like, well, you buy a car, you drive it off the lot, you've just lost a boatload of money right there, and you still pay for your car every month, even though it's depreciating. You know why? Because you need to get from point A to point B. Same thing with a house. You need a roof over your head. Nobody guaranteed you when you bought your house it was going to be an investment. Right. Oh, I've lost money. I'm just going to refuse to make payments. And that happened all over the place. What happened to the people that were in serious need? Well, pipelines clogged full of all of these people that are just trying to take advantage of the situation. And now we have it again. I think that there's a lot of people that did the forbearance on the mortgage because they didn't know way back in March and April, because we didn't know. We really didn't know. I had clients that just said, I don't know if I'm going to have a job. I don't know if I'm going to have any business. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just going to do this. Because it was scary back then. The first couple of weeks of April, we're all sitting around going, are we going to have any money? What's happening to our jobs? Us as real estate professionals didn't know what we were going to do. And so they took out the forbearances, and most of them got off. Most of the people have a way to get off of them. But then you have the people that are just like, well, if I have the opportunity where I don't have to pay my mortgage, why should I pay my mortgage? I can make it. I got money coming in. But it's not going to hit their credit until, maybe they have to prove that they were impacted. But it's the same thing with the renters. It's like, why should I pay my rent if I don't have to? I can just bank this money. Who cares about my landlord? Because people don't really think about their landlords a lot. They always think, oh, well, they own this home, and they obviously own their home or whatever. Maybe they'll own a bunch of homes. So what's it to them? Where they're sitting here going, I need your rent to pay the mortgage on this property. I still have hard costs on these homes. And they're out there strategically doing this. Now, and this is no disrespect to the people out there that are seriously having a hard time. But somebody always has to ruin the party. And now people like your relatives, have to do something that they probably really didn't want to do. So, hopefully we could get a break. I know it's been floated around. I'll see if I can find any more information on that. Just a temporary, stay off the capital gains, because that's what we need. Let these poor landlords just get the heck out of Dodge.
So you've heard the idea floated out there, but
yeah, I have heard it. I just don't know if it gained any traction. But it would be a good one. National Association of Realtors, are you listening? Well, maybe I should say that into Alexa, because as we found out from the FBI agent that talked at Orange County Realtors, Alexa listens to everything you say unless you turn the microphone off or unplug it. Mine's unplugged, so I'm not hearing anything.
Well, what does Alexa do with the information?
I don't know. I guess we'd have to kind of talk to those good folks at Amazon, and something tells me they're not going to tell us.
Yeah.
So let's see what we got in our copy. Lori, do you have any thoughts on this? Since I am just like so boxing it up today. This is Lisa's opinion column.
No, I commented already. I think it's a good idea worth exploring.
Yeah, let's see what we've got. Pam says landlords need a break, and Congress is so gracious. I'm sure they want to help landlords. And Thank you, Pam. Lisa, you are right. People work the system. Boy, do they. You know, we all know that because I mean, people work the system in real estate. People work this. It's human nature. It's not good human nature. Not everybody goes into that, you know, that little weakness, you know, little devil on your shoulder saying, don't pay your rent. You know, most people are going to do the right thing. But
Yeah, but it, you know, it is unfortunate because there's always a few bad apples and it spoils it for everybody. So it's just tough.
and Raj puts it here just perfect. Sure, my white collar tenants are worse than my blue collar ones. Blue collar people feel embarrassed to not be able to pay. I have a white collar tenant, on the other hand, who's holding out because he feels I can afford it.
Wow.
You're not the first person I've heard that story from, Raj. That's unfortunately very, very common. And Pam says, there will be a movie. Remember The Big Short?
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, I really try to forget a lot of that as best I can. But have we gotten to the point that we can make fun of the recession now? Has it been long enough that we can really like go make fun of the recession?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
If you want to, go ahead.
My son's going to try. He's working on a long-awaited TV script that he's been wanting to work on due to his time during the recession in a minor league baseball team, based on true events. Oh, they're bad. Let's hope that he does it.
That he does it?
That he writes it out and actually pursues this, because it would be really funny. Poor kid working minor league baseball in San Bernardino at the height of the recession. Yeah. Anyhow, moving on back to real estate. Okay, so so we've got all of this crazy rental stuff going on, and we talked about it would add inventory. But what's everybody seeing out there regarding inventory levels? I'd love to see your comments. And I keep freezing, and I'm sorry. I pay Cox a lot of money, and I don't know why my little modem thing is being a pain, but it's been like this for a week. Anyhow, so I would love to see what you guys are feeling out there. And Lori and I and a couple other folks did what would you call that? A panel kind of discussion. And why don't you tell them about that, Lori? You probably know the name better than I do.
Oh, geez. I don't. Let's
Throw
see.
that into your court. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Thank God the computer is handy. Okay. Real Talk on Real Estate in South Orange County was the name of it. And it was last Friday. I put the promo in last week, and hopefully you all got to see it. But we talked about the market. We talked about legislation related to real estate, and we sort of gave our thoughts on what's going on and what the future will be. And you know, we were asked what we thought the future would be, and I pretty much said, don't we all wish we had that crystal ball? We don't.
We haven't changed our names to Miss Cleo yet. Granted, a lot of people think that I have some kind of bizarre telepathic powers, which I really do not. We had that discussion, but we won't go there.
You can put the link. I'll look for the link, and we can share that with the group, because it was it's stored on YouTube, and so the video's there. And so if you're interested in just hearing our thoughts on it, Lisa and I were both on it. And then we had Orange County Treasurer Joyce Endo, who's one of our nerdy real estate agents here. And then also the 2022 President-elect Scott White was also on the panel. So it was a good little discussion.
What was your question?
I don't know.
Hard time even remembering mine.
That was last week. I don't remember. I don't.
You have no idea how much better I feel. What did I say?
I have the notes, and then it was done, so they went in the trash.
Yeah, my house cleaners came after that and dumped it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
We talked about something. I guess you guys are going to have to go listen to the YouTube, because we obviously Lisa and Lori have a little bit of a short-term memory problem. Otherwise, I mean, really, it was just kind of like, what's the market, what's going on? Is, you know, are we going to be looking at a big foreclosure tsunami from forbearances, which is absolutely not. That's not going to happen. And Raj, I'm sure you're with me on this, you know, because guess what? I mean, there's not that many people that are still in the forbearance situation. I think last, and I'm just pulling numbers out of my ear. You know, I think it was like 1.3-ish million people still are in some sort of forbearance plan. Now, we're talking nationwide. This is a number under the number of realtors that are in the United States. So the number is not that big. And of that big number, I know in California it was 13%. I think on a nationwide scale it was 14 or 15% of the people that are still in an active forbearance do not have a workout plan, which means everybody else does. We're looking at, you know, average of 14% of the people don't know how they're going to get out of this, whether it's, you know, refinancing it away, tacking it onto the end of the mortgage, paying, you know, all of it catch up, selling their house and saying, I've had enough of this. Nobody's going to get foreclosed on because everybody made, what is our appreciation rate right now? 24% in the past 12 months. I mean, it's obscene. Why would you walk away from a house unless you've mortgaged it to the hilt, but you can't because you haven't been making any money to be getting mortgaged out of your home? It's not gonna happen. Your house is worth too much. And, you know, and I'll relay a story here, kind of, you know, explaining an equity situation that was kind of unforeseen. And Lori knows about it. And I know Lori was pretty surprised when I told her. My son had a 2017 Toyota Corolla that he was leasing. And he had to turn it in because the lease was coming up. And his residual, you know, that amount that you have to pay at the end of the lease was about $10,000. So, you know, he had a couple of options. One of them is just taking the car to the dealer and turning it in. And they say, okay, we're all good. You know, car's worth, you know, 10,000, fine. But there's a car shortage right now, kind of, you know, similar to the housing shortage, except for the houses aren't because of the chip shortage, but there's a car shortage. And used cars are like the thing right now. And he went to CarMax and, you know, put in all the information on his car. And they're like, we'll give you $15,400. I was like, well, I only owe 10. If I turn my car into the dealer, I'm just going to turn it in and not do anything. Or I can get a check for $5,000. So why would you just turn it in? Why would you take your house and just turn your house in and walk away from that equity that's built during a market where the supply is short, when you can just find somebody who's going to buy it off of you? And especially now in today's day and age, you know, you have options, you have sale options on your house, and walk away from that equity that you built in the past 12 months, because this is an obscene amount of money. So I really don't think we're going to see any foreclosures myself, you know. And if you have a leased car, go check with CarMax before you turn it in.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, we might see some foreclosures, but those would be from people who just don't know what they're doing and they're not getting any good advice, and they're just stopping making their payments altogether, didn't work anything out with the bank, you know, but it will be a very small, very, very small percentage. I think that was essentially my question, was what's different between what's going on today versus what was going on in the 2000s when we had the recession.
Now I'm going to work, and Olivia, thank you. I'm going to work backwards on the comments right now, because Pam, well, first Olivia said thank you for the car advice. Believe me, I would never have thought about this. Thank you to the service advisor at RSM Toyota that told me go to CarMax and see what they'll give you for your car. So that's just letting the world know, if you have a lease car, that's a hot tip. But Pam says sell and then buy another overpriced house to replace yours. Well, we all know sell high, buy high, sell low, buy low. Yeah, it depends, depends on your situation. And I'm going to throw this out to the two lenders, Carrie and Raj, and ask them, could you, if you were in this kind of a situation, would that forbearance and all of that good stuff have any effect on your credit? I know it's not supposed to, but we all know that there's a payment history. So I would love to see your comments in there. If somebody was in forbearance for, let's say a year now, could they sell their house and go buy another? But Carrie says the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau has warned mortgage servicers that they need to have an exit strategy for the forbearance. They said foreclosure is not an option. I think I froze. They said foreclosure is not an option and they need to not repeat the foreclosure crises of last decade. Good news is people who cannot correct their mortgage have equity and can do a traditional sale, not a short sale. And Raj says, no wave of foreclosures coming. Banks don't want houses, banks want money. And because of how strict lending has been for the last decade, the majority of people actually have a ton of equity in their property. Yeah, they do. And if you got a lease car, you got a ton of equity in your lease car. Lenders, what do you guys think about Pam's statement? Can you go buy another house? Would love to know what you think. And then Barbara says, I showed 8 homes a week ago with a 1 mile area that fit my buyer's criteria, the Wood Streets. Oh, I love the Wood Streets. I know all about the Wood Streets now in Riverside. It's a really nice neighborhood. So plenty to show in the 575 to 600K range. Wrote 2 offers, got one of them accepted, opening escrow today. Things are changing. Yeah, things are changing. Inventory level has increased in my little market, in the little window of the world that I watch. Numbers have been holding steady for a month. Houses aren't flying. Some are, others aren't. I'm seeing the higher end, and I watch Rancho Santa Margarita, so the higher end, not including Dove Canyon, not including Robinson, just Rancho proper. I saw a couple of ridiculous prices on homes, like 1.4 and 1.6 on track homes. But I'm seeing that upper end kind of fill up a little bit, because everybody's like, my house is worth 1.3, my house is worth 1.2. Where these houses a year ago were maybe high 8s, maybe mid 9s. So I'm kind of seeing them sit and hang around a little bit more. Let's see. Oh, and back to the lend. We're juggling here. Back to the lending aspect, Raj says, it depends on the new loan program. With conventional, yes, if they paid back on old forbearance, they can buy. But for government loans, they need to make 3 on-time payments before a new loan. Sorry to clarify. Well, he said Govy. I knew government, and that's FHA and VA. And probably a little USDA too, if you're out there doing some rural stuff. Inez says, speaking of changing, what do we have to do to change the BA commissions? Oh, we can't talk about that, Inez. Can't talk about that. Actually, it's market. This is, number one, first rule of Nerdy Club is can't talk about commissions, can't talk about companies, can't talk about anything about doing that stuff. So what I'm going to say on what Inez said is market rate, market trend. What can you get away with? Market's dictating, everything's negotiable. Market trends are doing that, not us, not anything like that. NAR, the mothership, which is highly thought to be doing this, it's us. We know the market. We know what the market can bear. And unfortunately, that's what the market can bear. And when the market can't bear that anymore, things will change. But right now, market's saying downward pressure. When it becomes a buyer's market again, there will be upward pressure. And it's just all on the market. And that's something we need to educate the public on, that commissions are negotiable and are market driven. Right, Lori?
That's right.
Yeah. Moving on. Let's see. Okay, so Carrie says, can someone buy after forbearance? Yes, they can. There's criteria that needs to be met and isn't guaranteed each person can. It's case by case. And then Gary, thank you. I love your comment. Move to Iowa. You can get 320 acres plus a building for 250,000. However, you do have to live in Iowa. And that's something that I think is, gets lost on a lot of people, saying, I'm going to move to this state. And I'm just going to get out of California and all you California people. I have a friend of mine that left the state and got to Idaho. And now he's with his people, because when you get to Idaho, your neighbors are going to be from California. That's how it's working out there. And it's just like, no, I'm in America. It's like, hey, in America, you've been in America when you're in California. We are not that bad, people. Wait till you get your property tax bill. That's what I say about that. So,
and moved to another state and said now they're in America?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, moving on.
They haven't been there in the winter yet, so we'll see how well that works out. I want to. All of these people that I know are native Californians that have probably never dealt with, an honest to God snowfall in their life. I want to see them all driving. I'm waiting for social media to be, I'm in the hospital because I've been in a car accident because I don't know how to drive in the snow. I won't drive in the snow. I know my limitations. I'm a native Californian, damn it. I don't know how to drive in the snow.
Stay tuned next Monday too for Lisa's one-woman comedy show. I love it when you do all these
scared to death. I'm scared to death of driving in the snow. I don't know how to do that. Oh, let's see. And Chad says, and Idaho has challenges with fire and air quality, not on the brochure.
Ah, good point.
Yeah. There's a reason why you can live in these places for the prices you can live. And I still think of that TikTok video about the guy with the apple, and they're all bidding for the apple. And I'm from California. I've never seen an apple that cheap. And I'm sure the rest of the country's thanking us. Oh, yes. And the rest of the country is thanking us. Sean says there's also a lot of resentment towards Californians moving to states like Idaho, Oregon, Washington, etc. Yeah, there really is. There really is. I had to rent a car one time in Colorado when the weather was nice and I didn't have to drive in the snow. And the rental car had California plates. And I'm like, I'm in Colorado. I don't want a car with California plates. It's bad enough I'm from California, but now I'm driving around in a car that says I'm from California. And I know you people hate me because I'm from California, because Colorado, they got the same problem. But anyhow, I'll let Lori say something.
No, that's okay. This is entertainment right here.
Okay, and we got in case you want more of Lori and Lisa, like you haven't already had enough of me this morning, we've got the link. Lori was kind enough to dig up the link for the whatever it was. Oh, they got it auto-populated. Real talk and real estate, that's it. Okay, and Sean also says several friends who've moved out of state say locals resent Californians driving up the prices. Absolutely. But I don't know, is the party ending? Is the seller party ending? What do you guys think out there? I think it's slowed down. Barbara was able to get something in escrow on the Wood Streets and with 2 offers. That's pretty darn good. It's going to be interesting to see if these listings pick up, if we're ready to play end of 2018. I don't know. Is there any? What have you heard, Lori? Anything on the association front that they're hearing markets slowing a little or anything, or has that been picked up yet?
Yeah, I mean the last report that Jordan Levine from CAR did was July data, and he gave us that report. It was June data that he gave us the report in July, and all of the numbers were showing that yes, inventory is slowly creeping up. Days on market are slowly creeping up. Like instead of 7 days, it's 8 days, but it's significant enough. And the data is showing that, and then understanding that it's weeks old at that point. So when the report comes out in about 2 weeks for July numbers, I'm sure we'll see that yes, it has slowed a little bit more, but it's still, I mean, we all still know there's still high demand.
Yeah, I think that the first time buyer area is still tight. You know, I'm seeing like the little teeny weeny condos kind of hanging on the market. So it's kind of like, you know, we have the spectrum of listings, at least from what I'm experiencing. And I'd love to hear what everybody else out there is saying. You know, the little teeny weeny places, they're kind of hanging around. And then the big places are hanging around, but you got that sweet spot in the middle, the mid 5 to maybe the mid 8 range. That stuff's just, you know, just flying off the shelf still. And I think if that's going to be the one thing that might hurt leveling out the market, because those are the people, like, where are they going to go? Well, they can go to Idaho. But besides Idaho, if they want to stay in beautiful Southern California, you know, it's a little hard to find a place unless that upper end starts to move down a little bit. You know, if that softens up, which usually that'll be the first one to soften up, because, you know, they want, it's pie in the sky. You know, they're, you know, my house that I haven't done anything for, with, you know, no view and just an average lot, I'm going to put it on the same price as that one with the killer lot and the pool and the view and the upgrades and all of that. And I think we're going to probably see that. This is when you start to dread going to listing appointments, because you're having to deal with reality checks. Reality checks aren't fun, but I think that's what we're probably going to be in for. Let's see, Gary's given us a little weather report here. By the way, last time I was in Iowa, the wind chill factor was 56 degrees below zero. Wind chill in Mission Viejo on that date was 72 degrees above zero.
Wow, Iowa gets so windy.
Oh my gosh, I know. It was just crazy. Yeah, I mean, and that's everything sounds better somewhere else. You know, the grass is always greener. We wouldn't have that saying if people didn't think that.
But, you know, we have friends across the country, realtors across the country, and, you know, they're saying the same thing. Their markets are all the same like ours. Crazy demand, you know, sellers just pushing the envelope. Escalation clauses used all across the country. I mean, it wasn't unique to California. So, you know, it's interesting that people would say, well, I'll just move somewhere else. Your money goes a lot further somewhere else, but they were still being met with the same kind of demand. Mm-hmm. And there was someone I was talking to who was saying, like, I'm not going to pay that kind of money for a house in that state. And it's like, well, that's what it's worth.
Go thank one of your fellow Californians that came out here and said, you know what, this is really cheap. I'm going to buy me a house, and just drove the prices through the roof.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what happens. You know, I'm not sure if like New York drove up Florida, you know, with people leaving the city. I know a lot of millennial age folk that left New York and went and moved elsewhere, maybe bought, you know, like a friend of ours' daughter bought in North Carolina, which is really kind of an extreme. You know, you go from living in Brooklyn, you know, renting in Brooklyn, a little teeny weeny place, and it's like, I'm gonna go buy a house on a couple of acres in North Carolina, you know. And, you know, I don't know if that affected anything, if there was high paying jobs that left New York. The San Francisco market was impacted, but strangely enough, I heard that prices are getting driven back up there because people, well-off people were buying condos in San Francisco now as second homes. You know, so you had this window of opportunity when people took off, go work remotely, you know, and they all left. And then it's like, oh, well, you can go rent something, or you can go buy something at a pretty decent price in San Francisco back in 2020. But then people are no dummies. They're going to drive those prices right back up, saying it's a bargain for me to be able to buy this condo in San Francisco. So, you know, we have a lot of things that play across the country. We really do. And Lori's absolutely right. This was not limited. we just kind of went out and took our bad habits and spread them everywhere. That's
We
what I
had some good habits that we shared with our fellow friends and realtors across the country too, like our
That's true.
fair housing disclosure and advisory form.
That's true. I just kind of meant about the masses of Californians leaving. Oh, that was my question.
Oh yeah, what was your question on that on that panel?
Yeah, I'm waiting for blowback for my answer. You know,
Well, our audience here just got the extended version, the
yes,
extended answer.
you guys need to listen. See, tell me if I overstep my bounds.
Didn't.
After I said it, I kind of thought, oh, I might make some people mad at me, but that's okay. But yeah, I think, yeah, we did, and that is the interesting part about one of the good things about the pandemic and the communication channels that opened up during the pandemic is we have been able to have discussions with people on a nationwide level and I've made a whole lot of new friends recently, based on Clubhouse, which is interesting. But it's opens your eyes to what are the practices going on in other parts of the country? What are they experiencing? I've learned a lot of practices that it's like, wow, maybe I should consider this, or I should do that. And, looking at the way that people market themselves and market their properties, but finding out that all of us have the same problem in common, and that was inventory shortage. And I love these people that think we're going to be able to build our way out of this. Think how long it takes to build a house. We're gonna blame this on a lumber shortage. We didn't have a lumber shortage until a few months ago. These builders just a few years ago got their entitlements to build and had to figure out what they're going to build and how they're going to build it and do this and that and the other thing. And then, people are putting into different articles, well, what's causing this housing shortage? It's the lumber shortage and the labor shortage. And I'll buy the labor shortage because that's always been a problem in the trades. But you can't blame a housing shortage on the lumber shortage that just happened. We haven't been building enough properties because everybody wants to fight about them in California for years.
Yeah. It's just compounded year over year of us not building enough.
Yeah, and we ain't going to be able to build our way out of it. We got to quit blaming, then again, these trade publications and various other things, always have to find something to write about. One thing that really cracked me up is I was doing some research for an interview, and it was how many people are on YouTube talking about a housing crash and a foreclosure tsunami. And so, I Google it and there's like all of these YouTube things. And you would start watching them and they all used it just for clickbait. Just so somebody would, watch I'm going to sell you a t-shirt, or you can send me $3,500 and find out about how I can tell you how you can flip homes in your spare time. But it's clickbait. And I think the same thing's happening on the housing shortages. We have to have something in our article because we know people will click housing shortage. Use your common sense. People can't build a house in 6 months unless it comes on wheels, and you already bought your lot a few years ago. So that's all that I have to say about that.
And with that, the clock just flipped to 10 a.m. So I think we're done here.
Hey, you know what, guys? This was like a really light, no content kind of Monday morning coffee and compliance. I've had a little too much coffee today. And I'm just happy that any of you stuck around and put up with this.
Yes, we will dig hard this week to try to find some real content, like some new news. But this was a fun conversation, and I really enjoyed the entertainment I got out of it today.
Well, I appreciate that. And you know what?
And the knowledge.
I'm going to do some shameless self-promotion, if that's okay with you. Or maybe I'll ask you to shamelessly self-promote me. Tell them about that NAR article you found.
I'd love to. So I'm so proud that Lisa was called by NAR to do an interview on what brokerages can do to further fair housing efforts. And she was interviewed by the Vice President of Policy and Advocacy, Brian Green. And that was aired at the Broker Summit, the NAR Broker Summit a couple weeks ago. And then it is also in the Realtor magazine this month. So it's online. I will put that link in the Facebook group. And I'll put it in the Zoom chat so Lisa can put it in the Facebook group, because then it'll get there quicker. Because I have to log into Facebook. It's a whole thing. I'm really proud of you.
That was the most pleasant of surprises I ever got when my phone was ringing and I'm like looking at Washington, D.C. Who's calling me from Washington, D.C.? And it was NAR. And it was, I'm gonna see if I can sweet talk them into giving me the recording so we can continue to share it. I think that they really liked it enough to write the article. So maybe they would like it to live on now that the link I believe the link has expired for replays for the Broker Summit. So if I get it, I'll share it with the group. Because I thought it was a good conversation. I was, very pleased with it, and hopefully it just gives some ideas, especially if you're somebody out there that needs, office meeting content. You need to be sure that you're, from an agent supervision standpoint, or having your agents trained. We give some good tips, and there's some basic tips in this group. Us nerdy folk, we pretty much already have done most of it. But it's a good way to get other agents to follow suit. So we will post this. Lori's working diligently, I see, and we'll get that posted. And I'll do one last little look at the comments, and thank you, Barbara. Carrie says, with more people working from home, I'm watching to see if some of the commercial buildings will be converted to residential to meet the housing needs. I know that's something that's really being watched by the realtor associations, because this is something we've been advocating for. And actually in Santa Ana, one office building already has been converted. And I think they have some more. I'm really, one thing I want to do is study what Santa Ana is doing regarding affordable housing. They have been building affordable housing units throughout that town. And there is a big complex right off of the 55-5 interchange, and they do have like big banners up right now. Affordable housing family units, call this number. Affordable housing senior units, call this number. And it's a big apartment complex, and that's the second one that I've seen in Santa Ana. They also built one off of First Street between the 55 and Main, I believe. And they're doing some good things. I'm going to give them credit, because people think Orange County, God, I wish I'd quit freezing. People think that Orange County is the hoity-toity, we don't do anything for anybody because we're just a bunch of people from Orange County. And actually, we got some really cool things happening here. Stealth affordable income apartments that people don't know are affordable income apartments. Like there's a senior apartment community right by Mission Viejo Golf Club off of Oso and Country Club Drive. It doesn't have any signs up. It doesn't say, if you want to rent here, call this number. It doesn't say anything. It's just a very nice apartment building. And that apartment building is affordable senior housing. And they make good neighbors. And we all think affordable housing makes horrible neighbors. And really, they make wonderful neighbors. And we need to embrace that more and get that word out more. So if you're one of our rabble rousers in the community and you're at a city council meeting, or you happen to have a city council person cornered somewhere, have a talk with them, let them know that, more housing is needed, and affordable housing, workforce housing is needed. And you know what? Those people are good folk. They're good folk. I was one at one time, way back in the day. I like to think of them good folk. Maybe people have a different opinion.
Oh my gosh.
Well, it's a common problem. It's a common problem. It's like FHA condo approval. We don't want those people. We don't want those people moving into workforce housing. We are those people. Okay,
That's right.
I'm gonna take my soapbox apart.
That's okay. That bought me a lot of time because my computer is like taking forever. All right, I got it posted. Links.
Okie dokie. Well, thank you, everybody. I think we're just down to a couple of people. Everybody said I've had enough of this, but you know what? I don't blame you. I've had enough too.
right.
Okay, you guys all have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful week. Happy August, and go out and try to sell a house.
Yes. Be safe, everybody. Take care.
Okay, bye.